Hi, I'm Chip Ingram, and welcome to Living on the Edge. We're in a series called Love, Sex, and Lasting Relationships. And you know, I've had the opportunity to teach this material literally all around the globe. And when you talk about love, you talk about relationships, the $64,000 question is this: how do I know if I'm really in love? I mean, how do I know if it's the real thing? And for parents, you know, your teenagers or young adults ask you that. And for some of us, you know, one relationship didn't go so well, and you're asking in this next one, is this the real thing? Well, lean back, relax. I'm going to give you a test. This is going to be fun. And we're going to go through a test where at the end, you will know whether you're really in love or whether it's just infatuation. Let's join the teaching.
I think I've been in love in the past.
Tell me straight out, have you ever been in love before?
I think so.
It was about 3 months after we started dating, we decided that we were in love. But basically it was mostly because it wasn't as much as an infatuation anymore. It wasn't like, oh, I think he's cute, or, you know, vice versa. You really did care more. It was more in depth, more involved. Came from a different place, I guess. You know, you wanted to help them in all ways.
I'm currently in love, but there has been also other times where I thought I was in love as well, and sometimes I still think I am with those people. But it just depends on, like, I mean, just the way, like, I guess the person that in your life and the way they bring out that love in you. I think you can be in love with sometimes a lot of people, but I think I've now found what it is that it is true love.
I want to talk about how to know whether you're really in love or not. And to do that, we're going to do two things. Number one, we've got to define love accurately. You know, love means so many things in our day that if you don't know exactly what love is, how do you know if you have it or not? I mean, think about this. There are people today who say, I love football, and they've been glued to their sets in the playoffs. And yet last night, for the first time after a huge busy week, I had a nice dinner with my wife. My daughter was off on a ski trip. We had a great conversation, and I could look into her eyes after 25 years of marriage, 4 grown kids nearly, and say, I love you, Teresa. I love you more than anything or anyone on the earth. And then my daughter can use the same word, say it's Tuesday and cramped schedule. Where do you want to go to eat? Let's go over here. Say, oh, Dad, I don't want to go there. I love pizza. How do you use the word love for pizza, the love for football, and the love that I say to my wife in the same sentence? What's it mean? And so we're going to talk about what love actually is. The second thing you have to determine is the difference between infatuation and love. And what we're going to find is a lot of research has been done. This chemical response, that time when you meet someone and things start to happen, literally, there are chemicals that are secreted in the brain. You can get lightheaded, dizzy. You have this euphoric sense of emotion and attraction to another person. That's called infatuation. It can happen when you just see someone for the first time. You don't have to know their name. They can be dressed in a certain outfit, look a certain way, and have a few minutes of conversation, and these emotions can come over you. It's called infatuation. It's not love. It's a very positive, wonderful emotion that God gives us. If you don't know the difference between those two, boy, I'll tell you what, you will experience heartache and pain and dysfunctional relationships, and you'll go through one relationship after another, because what Hollywood has told us is infatuation and love are the same thing. So let's together go on a little journey, and let's discover first, what is love? In English, it can mean almost anything, but in Greek, there's 4 major words for the word love. I want to look at 3 of them. The 3 main words in the Greek language for love are eros, phileo, and agape. On the note, you'll see eros love. This is a need love. It's based upon physical attraction and fulfillment. This love is necessary for marriage to succeed. However, marriage cannot be sustained by eros alone. Now, can anybody think of an English word that might come from this Greek word eros? Erotic. We said it right here in church, right? See, some of us have been taught either by the church or background that erotic love is wrong or bad or dirty. But can I ask you to open your Bibles to Proverbs chapter 5? Now, I want to read an R-rated passage to you. Viewer discretion advised. This is from the King of the universe that you sang to earlier, This is the God who designed you. Eros love is a very, very important aspect of a relationship. Notice what it says in verse 18 of chapter 5. He says, drink water from your own cistern. He's going to use a picture. Notice the metaphor for water, and I think you'll figure it out quickly. Running water from your own well. Should your springs overflow into the streets or your streams of water into the public square? Let them be yours alone, never to be shared with strangers. May your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth, a loving doe, a graceful deer. May her breasts satisfy you always. May you ever be captivated by her love. Literally, the word captivated, it's intoxicated. It's this idea of this euphoric, erotic, sensual draw, need. I mean, it is God-given. We spent a lot of time talking about how you can't let that lead the relationship, and love is a choice, but this is God-given. What you need to understand is there's more to love than that. That's just part of it. And all the media and all the songs and all the novels and all the magazines and MTV and all the movies and all the videos would have you believe that love is basically erotic. I mean, how many shows have you seen where it's this good married couple, really love each other, have this great relationship, and then it fades to a bedroom scene? About 90% of all the sex on TV is by people that aren't married, as though that's where the real action is. Research tells us just the opposite. The most fulfilled people sexually, believe it or not, are people who believe in God, people who have one partner, people who are committed to a marriage relationship, and those that come in with the less baggage and the least amount of former relationships have the best sex lives in marriage. Erotic love, but that's not all that there is. Notice phileo love. This is the second type of love in the Greek language. This is friendship love. The Bible uses the word for companionship several times in describing what a marriage relationship is. Phileo love means reciprocal or sharing love. This is the kind of love that involves activities and home and hobbies and games and other objects of common affection. This is taking a walk on the beach. This is going to the mall for those of you that are married or dating someone pretty seriously and you really don't want to go to the mall. This is sitting down and talking about, quote, nothing, just telling what's going on. You see, erotic love is about being lovers. Phileo love is about being best friends. And we use the word even today. The city of brotherly love is called what? Philadelphia. This is a very, very important aspect. Turn in your Bibles now to Romans chapter 12. I'm going to give you a picture of what this kind of love looks like. And the case I want to make is that it's going to take all three of these kinds of love and in a balance, in the right time, in the right way for you to experience and know that you're really in love. In Romans chapter 12, beginning at verse 9, we get an explanation, and our word phileo will come right out here, right in the heart of it. And it says, love must be sincere. No phoniness, no pretending. It means authentic. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another, and here's our word, brotherly love. Notice the sense of commitment, the sense of sharing. Honor one another above yourselves. Never lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with God's people that are in need. Practice hospitality. There's about 6 or 7 imperatives there. It's honor, practice, share, devotion, concern. There's a sense of companionship and reciprocity and serving and caring. And by the way, this is how most of life works out. This is writing out the bills when you don't feel like it. This is doing what the other person wants to do when you're really not motivated to do that. This is handling the grind of life. This is about learning to care and be best friends and understanding what your partner wants to do and loving them to the point where it doesn't have to be your way at your time to meet your needs. This is about doing life together. The third type of love is called agape love. This is a supernatural love. It's a love that is giving. It can be unilateral in that one person can love even when the other person doesn't respond. It's a self-giving and meeting the real needs of the other person with the purpose of helping that person become better or more mature individual. Agape love takes the initiative and energizes the other two kinds of love. This is God's love. This is supernatural love. You know, we talked about be kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, walking in love just as God loved us. That's this kind of love. This is the love that gives the other person what they need the most when they deserve it the least. This is the kind of person that forgives when you've been wounded. This is the kind of love that doesn't bring up the past. This is the kind of love that knows the other person's history but refuses to use that against them. This is the kind of love that everything in you wants to strike back, but you choose not to because you have received forgiveness and restoration from the Father, and so you willfully choose to give it to the other person. And what I want you to know is if you don't understand the difference between these three, you'll never be able to answer the question, am I in love? 75%, I just heard this week. A couple researchers were on the radio, came out with a new book. 75% of all first-time marriages either end in divorce. That's about 50 of the 75%. And the other 25% end up living very unhappy, unfulfilled lives with one another. Now, I know a lot of people in this room aren't married. Some are, some aren't. But the way that we're going about relationships, listen carefully. Listen to God's heart. Remember last week, He loves you, He loves you, He loves you. Listen to God's heart. Do it my way. Understand that the foundation of relationships are agape love, loving others the way that He loves you. It will take supernatural power. And then understand that becoming best friends, phileo love, the sharing of hearts, the getting to know of one another, the shared experiences, and then understand that erotic or eros love is a very important component. But eros isn't all there is. Best friends isn't all there is. Some sort of spiritual love isn't all there is. It's all three together that make for a relationship that is better than you could ever dream. So question number one is, am I in love? Well, the answer is not, I have these ooey-gooey feelings. My heart skips a beat every time he walks in the room. I guess I must be. She looks so hot in that sweater. I must be in love. Now, isn't that how we go about it? So let's answer the second question. I said first, you'll never be able to answer the question, am I in love, unless you understand what real love is. The second is, you'll never understand if you're in love, unless you can discern between infatuation and real love. Turn, and I've got a little test for you. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is is it love or is it infatuation test? And we're going to have, I think, a lot of fun with this. And I'm going to read the test, and I'm going to say, this is love, and this is infatuation. And then what I want you to do is pull out your pen, and don't fudge on me. Don't play that game, well, I'm not quite sure. It's sort of not real love, not infatuation. I'm going to put an N for neutral. No N's. If it's either 51% love, and you put an L down, or it's 51% infatuation, and you put an I down. So as I read them, right next to your notes, I want you to put after each test an L in the corner or an I. I got an email recently from someone in our radio listening audience, and, this lady said, something, that test is great, but it was about 2 marriages too late. And she said, something, I didn't know. I'm a new Christian. I've never read the Bible. I've never heard anyone teach there's a difference between love and infatuation, and every time I got these very strong emotions and attractions, I thought it was love. In fact, I got involved in one relationship, it didn't work out, and then, pretty soon those same feelings came again, and you know what, I'm working on my 3rd relationship. I got 2 divorces already in the rearview mirror. Where were you about 5 years ago? And so what I want you to hear very carefully, especially as a single person, but also as a married person, we're going to see if you can't discern the difference between love and infatuation, I'm telling you, you are signing up for a lifetime of pain, and it will break your Heavenly Father's heart. Are you ready? Got their pens out? Okay. Test number 1 is time. Love grows, and all growth requires time. Infatuation may come on suddenly. In other words, that if it's genuine love, it takes time because it's built on what we're going to find. Test number 2 is knowledge. But infatuation, you can walk into a Starbucks, right? You can be in line. You can look, they look, you look, they look, you look, and you start telling your friend, I think I'm in love. You can go to a Bible study, not know anything about the people, and they're sitting around in a circle, and everyone's kind of talking, and your eyes just keep going to that one person, and on the way home, you say to the guy you're with you, "What's her name again? I think I'm in love." No. It's chemistry. It's brain cells. You're infatuated. There's nothing wrong with that. Just understand the difference. Genuine love always requires time. Why? Because of test number 2. Now, before I go on, I or L, right? Put it in the corner. Remember the movie Sandra Bullock, While You Were Sleeping? Remember that one where, she's taking the tickets there, and the guy that she doesn't even know, he walks by each time, and she keeps pounding her head, "Oh, I love him, I love him." No, she was infatuated. They had no time together. And second, they had no knowledge, the test of knowledge. Love grows out of an appraisal of all the known characteristics of the other person. Infatuation may arise from an acquaintance with only a few or only one of these characteristics. See, I can't love someone that I don't really know. I can't love someone from a distance. I can't love them based on external appearance. I can't love someone unless I have a genuine knowledge of what they're like, their character, their values, their history, how they relate. Because you don't love an object, you love a person. And you don't know a person unless you have time. And love, genuine love, is based on a genuine knowledge of that person. What are they really like? The third test, did you put an I or an L in that relationship? Number 2, go ahead, mark it down, I'll give you time. Test number 3 is focus. Love is other person-centered, it is outgoing, it results in sharing. When you really love someone, your focus is on them. Your focus is on other people. You really care. Infatuation is self-centered. When your response in a relationship is to be enamored with yourself, you can put an I next to this one. It's not an L. Love is other-centered. Infatuation is self-focused. Number 4 is the test of singularity. Genuine love is centered on one person only. An infatuated individual may be in love with 2 or more persons simultaneously. I want to tell you an honest, funny story. It's only funny because I can look backwards, and then I want to tell you a very serious story because this is one of the ones I want to camp on. The 4th test is singularity. After I graduated from college, I was teaching and coaching and playing basketball on kind of a AIA-type team around South America, and it was my first trip out, and I was dating a girl, not super serious, but I had some feelings going, and she was very godly, and I thought, hey, maybe this is the one, and I'm not really sure, so, no formal commitments, but, pretty regular type deal. And so I get on this basketball team, we come out to California, and we play and get warmed up, and then we played in all the different countries in South America. First stop is it was either Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico. I don't remember because I've been to both a couple times. And we play a big game in this huge stadium, and this missionary, there was a short-term missionary girl, and I met her after the game, and we went on a picnic the next day. And I can still remember the flowered-colored dress and how she had her hair pulled back. And, back home, I got this girl that I think maybe I'm falling in love with and was getting kind of serious little by little. And we had this picnic, and, she sat down, and I sat down. I mean, it was like in the movies, there was a big rock here, and there was greenery here, and she talked, and I talked, and I was in love. And then it was kind of weird because we went the next day, and so I got a girl I'm in love with back home and a girl in the Dominican Republic, and then we went to Santiago, Chile. And the president of the Federation had an awesome daughter. I mean, beautiful, knocked down, gorgeous. Couldn't speak a lick of English, but she sat across from me. Those Chilean people, big brown eyes, long dark hair. Hola. Muy bien. Something amo. I don't speak too much. And you know what? So the president, I'm the young basketball player, and so we're walking around downtown. She has her arm in my arm. Now I got a problem. I'm in love with someone back home. I'm in love with the girl in the Dominican Republic. I'm Chile. Then we went to Peru. You know what? Pretty soon the guys on the team were just killing me. Ingram, what in the world are you doing? And I remember flying back home and realizing we'd been to about 8 countries, and I'm in love in 6 of them, and I got one girl back home. And you know what I realized? I didn't have a clue what love was. But I'll tell you what, those chemicals were going off. And in the right setting, in the right light, in the right situation, a little vulnerability, and if they're wearing the right thing and they look kind of hot, I got news for you. Married or unmarried, those chemicals go off and you can get infatuated. But one of the big tests is when you're in love, it's one person. You can be infatuated with many. There are typical times in any marriage where you get vulnerable. And I know it's a mixed group, and one of those times is when you have the first child. And as men, we hate to admit this, but that baby comes along, it's very exciting. The first 2, 3, 4 weeks, it's still very exciting. But we used to be number one. And then when our wives have these little babies, like they go into like motherland. And then they're tired all the time. And for the first month or so, you know, you're real understanding and caring and get up and help. And after about 2 or 3 months, it's like the woman's affection from a man's point of view often feels like it left you and it's for this baby. Or you have a baby and a toddler. And pretty soon, you know, a guy is starting to feel like he not getting a lot out of this relationship. And he feels desperately guilty even talking about it. I mean, how crude. I mean, what are you going to say? My wife loves the baby more than me. I mean, you're going to say that out loud? You can't say that. I mean, it sounds like an absolute jerk, but that's what you feel. And I want you to know in that window, there's another window when your kids hit junior high and high school, and there's a lot of drain that goes into it, and that happens just about the same time when a man's work schedule goes up. There's another window called the empty nest, when all your kids are pretty well out of the house. And what happens over time is you've been busting it, and your wife's been busting it, and your identity unconsciously has been built around work, and hers is around the kids. And in every one of those windows, here's what happens, and here's what'll kill you if you don't know the difference between love and infatuation. You're a lady and you go to a Bible study. You love God. People see you as a leader. You've been coming to this church or another good church. You know, you've read The Purpose-Driven Life. I mean, you are on track. But there's not a lot of romance. Your husband he seems preoccupied. And you're vulnerable. And you leave a Bible study and you go right across the street into a little coffee shop and a guy kind of sees you and makes a little eye contact, opens the door and gives you a little attention, and you go in and, you know, you're a born-again Christian, totally committed. You got 3 kids. You would never think of doing anything. I mean, a little flirting. I mean, just, that's it. And then you find that that's when he takes his break and your Bible study ends, and it's just eye contact week number 1. By week number 4, he jokingly buys you a cup of coffee. By week 7, maybe you can reach him for Christ, right? You just sit down. It's just a Starbucks, have a little cup of coffee. By week 11, it's a little chat over the internet. And I'm telling you, all over America and all over around the world, because that infatuation, those chemicals, those things you haven't felt, that feeling, that drawn, that importance, they start to click on, and it's not love. I'll tell you what, I could tell you story after story after story, and most of you could tell me of what happened to a mom, a dad, an aunt, or an uncle, or someone who was a totally committed Christian who never saw it coming, and those feelings clicked in, and because they didn't know the difference between infatuation and love, 2 families got broken. And people, your brain cells, you drop about 30 to 50 points of your IQ when infatuation kicks in. You spend money you don't have, you make decisions that are stupid, and you ruin the rest of your life. And studies show infatuation lasts from about 6 weeks to 18 months max. And when that runs out, these people are faced with another person with real needs and real struggles. Or you're a man. And you're during one of those times where, you know what, she's in baby land and kid land, and she's always tired. And you're pushing hard, and you're getting up early, and you're going to work, and boy, I tell you what, the ladies at work, they got their makeup on. The ladies at work, man, they are dressed nice. The ladies at work affirm, and they understand someone that brings some wherewithal to the table, like a man like you, strong, sensitive. And it's in a meeting, and you can feel the chemistry, and you're a Christian, and you're committed, so you can't go there. And then you drive home, and you turn off the radio, and you start portraying your wife, and you take it through the filter of all the things that you don't have that you used to have. And then the chemicals kick in, and you get a little infatuated, and the rest is history. 90% of all the affairs that occur have nothing to do with people waking up one day going, hey, Thursday morning, good day to ruin my marriage, ruin my life, think I'll have an affair. 90% of all affairs never start because you walk in a room and say, whoa, what a hunk, or, well, I'll tell you what, now there's a girl that makes a sweater look good. Hey, you want to go to bed later? It never happens that way. It happens out of a window of vulnerability and people who mistake love for infatuation and don't realize that when that starts to happen, they need to refocus, understand what agape love is, understand where they're at in the normal part of the marriage journey, and reinvest time in romance in their own relationship. Singularity, very important. L or I, what would you put?
As we close today's program, I want to ask you a very important question. Are you right now in one of those windows of vulnerability? And I mean primarily married couples here. You know, have you had a new baby? Is there a lot of pressure at work? You're in the teenage years, or as I recently have gone through the empty nest. In those times, the infatuation, the quote, ooey gooey feelings, the sense of romance can really diminish. And I will tell you, people can start to look good that are not your mate. And if you watch a few movies, you read a few books, you take a little eye at some people working at the office, you could be in a situation where you could make the mistake that a man shared with me recently. He was a professional man, great wife, great kids, normal window of vulnerability. And he shared with me later, he said, you know something? I had all these feelings and all this chemical attraction. And you know, I went off and did some stupid thing with someone younger than me, and she was very beautiful. And I gave up everything in my life that mattered. And now it's in shambles. My wife doesn't trust me, my marriage is gone, and my kids can't figure out what in the world happened to me. Let me ask you, are you vulnerable? And if so, cut it off at the pass. Realize it's infatuation, those feelings feel real, but it's not love. Love is a commitment. Infatuation is a feeling. You know, cut off those supply lines. If there's an out-of-bounds relationship, deal with it in a radical way. And know this, reinvest in the marriage that you have. Reinvest. And as you do, those feelings will come back. May God richly bless you as you love the one that God's given you.